Hello, everyone, and welcome back. While we are talking about perimenopause and menopause, we have a menopause educator who has been navigating herself as well as, paving the way for a lot of women in UK. Catherine is a founder of Clarity. Well, today we are going to talk about, is menopause hormonal deficiency or not? That's what we are talking about. So I'm going to leave it up to Catherine to start this discussion.
Well, thanks for having me firstly. It's a pleasure to be here and obviously help you spread the word about this misinformation that seems to be circulating way too much, particularly in the UK. So Clarity, I'm a founder member. Rachel Lancaster of Magnificent Midlife, she is the founder who brought a lot of global doctors and academics together, invited us to come together to basically try and halt the scaremongering narrative. In the UK, it's become like a tsunami. It's been awful. And so we just want to calm the fires. We just want to calm everyone down and say, we understand there is a place for HRT for certain women. Yes, that definitely is. Unfortunately, the narrative in the UK the HRT pendulum has swung so far the wrong way that now we know that there's patients going to their GP, to their general practitioners, and asking to be put on HRT because they're scared of developing osteoporosis, cardiac disease, dementia, all of these scaremongering diseases if you aren't on HRT. Now, as we know, in the blue zones around the world, there's many women who have never taken HRT and their symptoms are so tiny. I think Japan, the Far East Asia, places in Africa, they've never had HRT. Now, I'm not saying any woman should have to suffer, because I was one of those that had a dreadful time. So I know what it's like. I'm not sitting here having sailed through it and, oh, we don't need HRT. It's not about that. I think there is a place for HRT, early menopause, etc. But what we don't address in the Western world is lifestyle. So we go to the doctors, our doctors over here, and we say we're suffering with, brain fog, fatigue, all the numerous symptoms that can come with perimenopause and menopause. And for so long, again, in the UK, doctors would prescribe antidepressants because in the UK, in medical school, you do not get taught mandatory menopause training. You don't receive it, which is quite ludicrous when you think 51% of the population is going to experience menopause. However, it's gone too far now. So women are going, like I say, wanting to be on HRT even without symptoms. The science doesn't tell us what is this long-term effect? What is this narrative of, oh, you can be on it for life. You can be on it. We don't have that science to know how that's going to impact us yet. So what we have to work with is the evidence-based information. And that's what myself and Clarity are very passionate about. The other angle is menopause is clearly not a hormone deficiency. It's simply not. So it's the equivalent of saying a girl, a prepubescent girl is estrogen deficient. It's exactly the same. No, we have estrogen in us in our fertile years to enable us to have children. It is mother's nature. It's her way of, saying you can't have any more children. This is a natural cycle. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. It can be very challenging. We know that. But it is not a hormone deficiency. It's not a disease. And it's being treated that way a lot of the time in the UK. And this narrative really needs to stop. It's quite frightening. It's, women are vulnerable anyway, and they don't need the scaremongering narrative, do they?
All right, so let's talk through the lifestyle. You touched upon that in the Western cultures, we don't talk much about the lifestyle. Yeah. So talk to us, what kind of lifestyle changes women, when they're in their 40s, they're going through perimenopause at that time, should start doing to help them sail through the menopause journey?
I think so many cogs to the wheel. That's what I always say in my wellness sessions. There's so many well-being issues that we need to address. So lifestyle, so we're looking at stress. A lot of people are very stressed. We're looking at endocrine disruptors. We're looking at alcohol. We're looking at processed food. Nutrient dense diet is what is needed. Getting out into nature, 20, 30 minutes a day. Some of the things seem quite basic. Reducing caffeine, doing a little bit more exercise, doing some weight bearing exercise. Now, again, I was one of those women in my 40s, I'm now 53. I was one of those ladies who resisted it. Thought, oh no, I can still do everything that I used to do in my 30s. Why am I struggling? I was resisting it. And I think that's where a lot of women sort of feel the same. They don't understand because we're not taught for it, firstly. But secondly, we just think we can just keep doing the same as in our 20s and 30s. And unfortunately, we can't. We have to address it. There are so many, like I say, endocrine disruptors. You think of the constant notifications. This is just one tiny example. So here I am on a computer. I've got a device beside me. There's normally an iPad as well. There's normally a desktop computer at work, in the workplace. We've got all these notifications, all this electronic stuff going on. We're overwhelmed. Go back 2 generations, even 1 generation, we weren't as overwhelmed as what we are now. So our brains have got all this stuff going on, so many tabs open at one time. And then we're eating the worst diet possible in the UK and potentially in America. Too much fast food, too much ultra processed food, full of additives, full of unnecessary ingredients. We forgot how to just to live healthily, like our grandparents that go to the local store and they would buy the bread, and they'll go next door and buy their meat. They'll go next door and buy their fruit and vegetables. Now we go to supermarkets and we've become conditioned to this being normal, of putting things in our basket that are covered in plastic, that have been injected with pesticides and sprayed with pesticides and whatever else to make them last longer. What is this doing to our system? There are so many things that can help women have an easy transition through the menopause.
Absolutely. So I actually, we talked about the HRT. I don't know if there was a study that came out that if women are taking HRT, there could be potential breast cancer risk. And then there was another study recently that came out. No, that study was wrong. There's no, right? So do you want to comment on that? Because we as women, we are confused, which is right, which is wrong. And
absolutely. So the study that was done I think it's now 21 years ago. So that study has totally been thrashed out the water. That was incorrect. And that's why so many doctors stopped prescribing HRT. And that's why so many women were scared to take it. So for a long time, it's been dead in the water. No one wanted to touch it. However, there's been more research because, as we know, science changes week by week, month by month, year by year. We just have to follow the science. Speculation isn't science, and we just have to follow the evidence-based information. So that's been totally thrashed, totally out the water. By drinking, 1 or 2 glasses of wine several times a week, you've got more chance of developing breast cancer than taking HRT. So that is a fact. One of our founder members is Dr. Liz O'Riordan in Menoclarity. She was a breast cancer surgeon, but she also developed breast cancer and she's had a mastectomy. So I would suggest anyone who wants to know more about this to look up Dr. Liz O'Riordan, and she has loads of videos and information on breast cancer and HRT.
Sure. Any thoughts on bioidentical hormones? I know you're not a doctor, but just on the evidence and the research base. And
yeah, so I wouldn't touch anything that isn't licensed. I would say to any woman listening, any woman in my wellness sessions, do not touch anything that isn't licensed. You don't know what you're getting.
All right. So in a nutshell, what would be your message to the women out there? Our following is, majority of them are Asian women, but
Yes.
in Asia, we were talking about that. They don't even talk about this. So that's what I'm trying to do. So, but what would be your message? And we have all kind of women actually from US, but I'm presuming that more are Asian. That's what I'm presuming.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is open to all. A lot of it is down to lifestyle and diet and stress. you know, previous stress can be bottled up. I'm quite passionate about this side of things. That trauma does come out in menopause. So whether your diet's great, whether you're Asian, whether you're white, trauma can come out in menopause. It's like quite a sort of peeling of layers to get into the next phase of our lives. So I would say to any woman, Asian, white, black, whoever's listening, please follow the correct people. And they're going to say, well, how do I know what is the correct information? Who do I know? I mean, in the UK, we have the British Menopause Society. We've obviously got Menopause Clarity. We've got a lot of, I know because I'm in the menopause world, you know, women, I was one of those several years ago. I didn't know who to trust and who to believe. So research, you know, follow trusted people like yourself, myself, Menopause Clarity, etc. Do your research. One size doesn't fit all. It really doesn't. That's to do, you know, yes, lifestyle. I'm not saying, oh, well, one lady can drink 5 bottles of wine a week and one can't. No, of course, we all have to reduce it and stop smoking and caffeine, etc. But it's so worth it to feel better. You know, just basically do your research and make your informed choice based on trustworthy information.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with me. That's what we are trying to do, is bringing forth trustworthy information, bringing experts from all over the world, such as yourself. I'm not an expert, I'm just learning, but my goal is to really advocate and educate as many women out there, you know, on the stage of life.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Catherine, for being with me.
Thank you so much for having me.